Imagine a world where your sense of self-worth isn't dictated by the fleeting approval of others. Picture waking up each day free from the weight of others' expectations, where rejection feels like a passing breeze rather than a storm, and the chaotic noise of the world fades into the background of your unshakable inner calm. Feels empowering, doesn't it? A life where your peace isn't just an aspiration but a constant, rooted deep within. Now, think about how often we hand over our happiness to forces beyond our control. A critical comment on social media, a disapproving glance from a colleague, or the fear of failure can unravel our confidence in an instant. It's as if we're marionettes, our strings pulled by the opinions of strangers, acquaintances, even loved ones. But what if you could cut those strings? What if you could walk through life with the kind of tranquility that no amount of judgment, rejection, or external pressure could shake? In today's discussion, we're diving into the profound teachings of Buddhism, principles that have guided millions of people for centuries, and exploring how they can revolutionize the way you navigate life's challenges. Whether it's finding empowerment in solitude or freeing yourself from the constant worry of what others think, these lessons are as transformative today as they were 2.500 years ago. And here's the best part. They're not just abstract ideas. They're practices that anyone can adopt, enriched by the wisdom of modern-day leaders and influencers who live by them. Let's start with solitude. It's often misunderstood, isn't it? In a world obsessed with connection and validation, being alone can feel like a failure. But Buddhism teaches us that solitude isn't loneliness. It's a gateway to self-awareness and liberation. The Buddha himself sought solitude under the Bodhi tree, where he confronted his fears, desires, and doubts. In that silence, he discovered the truth that transformed not only his life but the lives of countless others. Think about someone like Steve Jobs, known for his obsession with simplicity and focus. Jobs frequently spoke about the importance of stepping back to think deeply. He once said, "The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do." That kind of clarity doesn't come from constant noise and distraction. It comes from moments of solitude, where the mind is free to explore without interruption. For Jobs, this practice wasn't just a tool for innovation. It was a way to connect with his purpose and vision on a profound level. Imagine what you could achieve if you gave yourself the same gift of uninterrupted space. Now, let's tackle the anxiety of judgment. We've all felt the sting of criticism or the desperate need to be liked. It's human, but Buddhism reminds us that clinging to praise or fearing disapproval traps us in a cycle of suffering. What the Buddha called dukkha, instead, the practice of upekkha, or equanimity, teaches us to remain steady, untouched by the highs and lows of external opinions. Consider someone like Michelle Obama. As First Lady, she faced relentless scrutiny, every outfit, every speech, every choice dissected by millions. But instead of succumbing to the pressure, she embraced her values and stayed grounded. In her memoir, Becoming, she writes about how she learned to filter out the noise and focus on what truly mattered: her purpose, her family, and her mission to create meaningful change. This isn't just resilience, it's upekkha in action, a powerful example of how to rise above judgment and criticism with grace. And then there's rejection. Can feel devastating, can't it? Like the world is telling us we're not enough. But Buddhism offers a different perspective. Rejection isn't a reflection of our worth. It's an opportunity to grow. Think about J.K. Rowling, whose manuscript for Harry Potter was rejected by 12 publishers before it became one of the most beloved book series of all time. Imagine if she'd let those rejections define her. Instead, she persisted, transforming setbacks into stepping stones. Buddhism teaches that life is impermanent, constantly shifting, and that our true strength lies in how we respond to these changes. Rejection, then, isn't an endpoint, it's part of the journey. And when we stop attaching our happiness to outcomes, we find a freedom that's unshakable. So, whether it's embracing the power of solitude, letting go of the need for approval, or seeing rejection as a teacher rather than a verdict, Buddhist principles offer a path to profound inner peace. These lessons aren't just for monks or sages. They're for anyone who wants to live with more courage, clarity, and joy. There once was a young woman named Min who lived in a world dominated by likes, shares, and digital applause. Her mornings began not with gratitude for the sunlight streaming through her window or the aroma of her favorite jasmine tea, but with her fingers swiping through notifications. The number of likes on her recent post became the barometer of her mood. When the engagement soared, she felt invincible, but on days when her posts were ignored, she spiraled into self-doubt, her happiness slipping through her fingers like sand. One evening, after a particularly disheartening day of social media silence, Min stumbled upon a local meditation class. Curious but skeptical, she decided to join. The teacher began with a simple lesson: peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. First, Min scoffed. How could her peace not depend on the validation of others? But as the days turned into weeks, Min began to practice mindfulness. She discovered the joy of her morning tea, savoring each sip instead of checking her phone. Slowly, her sense of contentment shifted inward. The likes and comments faded in importance, replaced by a newfound peace. Solitude, Min learned, was not a punishment but a privilege. This echoed the words of another seeker of solitude, Steve Jobs. Known for his legendary creativity, Jobs often credited his best ideas to moments of quiet reflection. In his relentless pursuit of innovation, Jobs would retreat to meditate, stripping away the noise of the world to listen to the whispers of his intuition. Min was inspired. If solitude could power the mind of one of the greatest visionaries of our time, perhaps it could nurture her own growth. She started carving out time for stillness, just as Jobs did. First, felt alien, even uncomfortable, to sit in silence. But as her mind quieted, clarity emerged. Problems that once felt insurmountable unraveled with ease. She realized that solitude wasn't just a place to escape, but a gateway to creativity and resilience. With her growing sense of self, Min began to confront an even deeper fear: the need for approval. This was her greatest tether, binding her to the judgments of others. She recalled the Buddha's words, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the universe, deserve your love and affection." Inspired by this wisdom, she thought of Sarah, an artist she admired who had faced a similar battle. Sarah had walked away from a lucrative corporate job to follow her dream of painting. First, her decision was met with scorn from friends and family. "How will you make a living?" they questioned. But Sarah didn't seek their validation. Her joy came from the act of creation itself. Over time, her work resonated with others, not because she aimed to please, but because it was authentic. Min realized that she too could step away from the exhausting pursuit of applause and find fulfillment in living true to herself. Rejection, Min discovered, was another teacher. For so long, she had viewed rejection as a mark of failure. But Buddhism taught her that rejection wasn't the end. It was a redirection. She was reminded of J.K. Rowling's story, how the world's most beloved wizarding saga was rejected 12 times before finding its home. Min realized that every no she had faced in her life wasn't a dead end but a signpost, pointing her toward a better path. With this perspective, Min began to embrace setbacks as opportunities for growth. When her application for a prestigious photography grant was denied, she didn't wallow in despair. Instead, she used the feedback to refine her portfolio and ended up landing an even better opportunity, a solo gallery exhibition. Finally, Min let go of the weight of others' opinions. For so long, she had tailored her choices to fit in, afraid of standing out. But she was inspired by the story of Amy, a high schooler who was mocked for her bold, unconventional style. Amy initially tried to conform, only to feel even more lost. One day, she decided enough was enough. She returned to wearing clothes that made her feel alive, ignoring the whispers and stares. Over time, her confidence became magnetic, and the same peers who once judged her began to admire her courage. Min, like Amy, stopped dressing, acting, and living for others. She chose instead to embrace her individuality. This shift unlocked a freedom she had never known, a life unburdened by the opinions of others. Through these lessons, Min's life transformed. She found happiness not in external markers but in the quiet joys of her daily routine. Solitude became her sanctuary, not her fear. She stopped chasing approval and began nurturing her self-worth. Rejection no longer paralyzed her but redirected her to greater opportunities. And the opinions of others? They became background noise, easily drowned out by the strength of her inner calm. Min's story is a testament to the timeless wisdom of Buddhism, a path not reserved for monks or sages but available to anyone willing to look inward. Like Min, like Steve Jobs, like Sarah, Amy, and J.K. Rowling, you too can cultivate a life of unshakable peace and purpose, one that begins and ends within. Stop letting the world's applause define your worth. Instead, turn inward. Build habits that resonate with your values, like starting a mindfulness practice or keeping a journal. These simple acts ground you in the present and help you discover what truly matters, not the fleeting approval of others, but the steady joy of aligning with your authentic self. Think about it. What if you spent just 5 minutes a day reflecting on what you're grateful for? Journaling isn't just writing. It's a mirror for your soul. It shows you how far you've come, where you want to go, and what really brings you peace. How often do you say yes when every fiber of your being is screaming no? Saying no is more than just a boundary, it's an act of self-respect. Protecting your peace doesn't make you selfish. It makes you intentional. Imagine this. You have a coworker who constantly dumps extra work on your plate. By saying no kindly but firmly, you're not just setting a boundary, you're sending a powerful message. Your time and mental health are valuable. If someone as busy as Oprah Winfrey can master the art of saying no to focus on what truly matters, so can you. In her own words, you have to know what sparks the light in you so that you, in your own way, can illuminate the world. You can't control someone else's rude comment, the weather, or traffic, but you can control how you respond. Instead of reacting with frustration or anger, pause, take a breath, and choose your response. This shift from reaction to intentional action can change your life. For instance, let's say someone cuts you off in traffic. Your instinct might be to honk and yell, but what if you took a deep breath instead? You'd save yourself unnecessary stress and reclaim your peace. This is the essence of Viktor Frankl's philosophy in Man's Search for Meaning. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. Remember, life isn't about winning over every critic or curating a flawless image for the world. It's about being unapologetically you, finding peace in the chaos, and walking through life with a steady sense of purpose and grace. So here's the big question. What's one small step you'll take today to move closer to your inner peace? Will you try a gratitude journal? Say no to something that doesn't serve you? Take a moment to breathe before reacting? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your journey toward peace and purpose. Don't forget to like, share.
Lotus like teaching.
For more life-changing insights, this is your time to shine, starting from within. Glowing star.